You can drive New Jersey your entire life and never realize how close you've been to places that shouldn't still exist. Because right off the busiest highways, behind tree lines and beach dunes, entire towns were erased, buried or quietly sealed shut. Not destroyed, just abandoned. And the scariest part, most of them were emptied on purpose. Stay with me because the last place on this list didn't collapse or rot. It simply went dark. And some people believe it's waiting for the switch to flip back on. New Jersey isn't loud everywhere. It's hiding. Let's start with a place sitting in plain sight. Number 7. Fort Hancock, Sandy Hook. Every year, millions of people come here, bare feet in the sand, salt in the air, cameras pointed toward the New York City skyline. Almost none of them notice what's right behind them. Beyond the dunes and tree line, an entire town stands in silence. Not rubble, not ruins, not destruction. Fort Hancock is still intact, just abandoned. This was never a small outpost. It was the front gate to New York Harbor. If an enemy made it past this point, the city was exposed. In the late 1800s, when naval warfare ruled the world, instead of placing weapons in plain sight, they buried them. Massive concrete gun batteries were carved into the land itself. So low, so well hidden, enemy ships wouldn't see them until the moment they fired. Some of those batteries are still concealed today. You can walk across grassy rises without realizing you're standing on reinforced concrete designed for war. But this place wasn't just weapons. It was a functioning city. Barracks for soldiers, rows of officers' homes, wide roads built for constant movement, parade grounds once filled with footsteps and commands. For decades, Fort Hancock lived with a single purpose: defense. Then war changed. Threats stopped coming from the horizon. They came from the sky. Planes replaced cannons. Radar replaced eyesight. Screens replaced distance. The fort tried to adapt during the Cold War, adding radar stations and missile defense systems. But even that era passed. Buildings emptied one by one. Lights went out. Doors stayed closed. Paint peeled. Nature crept in quietly. What remains today isn't a single abandoned structure. It's the skeleton of an entire system. Silent parade grounds, service roads that lead nowhere, concrete platforms that still feel like they're waiting for orders that will never come. And here's the part that makes it unsettling. All of this sits just minutes from Manhattan. No remote wilderness, no isolation, a full military town, sitting beside the ocean, waiting, as if it might still be needed again. And somehow that makes the next place even more disturbing. Number 6, Walpack Center, Delaware Water Gap. This town didn't collapse. It didn't burn. It didn't fade naturally. It was erased by a decision on paper. Deep inside the Delaware Water Gap, Walpack Center feels frozen mid-sentence. The road curves. The valley opens. And suddenly a town appears. A white church. A one-room schoolhouse. Old homes set back from the road. Everything is still standing. Everything looks ready. Except no one lives here. For generations, families built lives in this valley. Farms worked the land. Neighbors knew each other by name. Time moved slowly and predictably. Then the river flooded. In response, the government proposed something enormous, a massive dam that would reshape the entire region. To make it happen, the land had to be cleared, property by property. The government bought the valley. Residents were told their homes were in the way of progress. Families packed up. Graves were moved. Communities unraveled. Walpack didn't die in a single moment. It emptied quietly. Lights went out. Mail stopped arriving. Front doors closed for the last time. And then the plan collapsed. Costs ballooned. Opposition grew. The dam was officially canceled. But the people never came back. By the time the project was abandoned, ownership had changed. The town no longer belonged to the families who built it. It belonged to the future that never arrived. Today, the Delaware River flows freely through land that was supposed to be underwater. The reservoir was never created, but the evacuation was permanent. Walpack Center isn't decayed. It isn't destroyed. It's suspended. A town that looks intact, but has no heartbeat. And that's what makes it disturbing. Because this is what abandonment looks like when it's planned. And the next place on this list proves something even stranger. That entire villages can disappear without ever leaving the woods. Number 5, Feltville Watching Reservation. Imagine suburban streets surrounding you, playgrounds in view, joggers passing by, families walking dogs. Everything feels ordinary, safe, familiar. Then you turn down a single dirt road, barely wide enough for one car, and the forest closes in. The trees thicken. The air grows cooler. And then, almost suddenly, the woods open up. A village appears. Not ruins. Not crumbling foundations. Actual buildings. Cottages lined neatly along the road. A small church, a general store with windows that still hint at shelves inside. It's like stepping into another century. Feltville wasn't just a collection of buildings. It began in the 1800s as a mill town. David Felt built a factory along a stream, and with it a full community. Workers needed homes, families needed lives. The village thrived, pulsing with daily routines. But industry changed. The mill faltered. Yet Feltville didn't die, it adapted. In the late 1800s, it transformed into a resort called Glenside Park. City dwellers arrived for weekends, fresh air, walking trails, the novelty of escaping into the hills. And for a while it worked. Until it didn't. Tourism shifted elsewhere. Visitors stopped coming. The resort closed. The people left. Twice abandoned. Still standing. Never demolished. Walk its dirt road today and look through the windows. Imagine life once framed in those panes. Children running. Meals cooked, laughter echoing. The stream still winds through the hollow, just as it did when the village was alive. The air carries no voices, only the memory of them. This isn't just a hidden village. It's a story of reinvention, of life stopped mid-rhythm. A place that once mattered, now ignored, yet untouched. And the strangest part? You don't have to hike miles into the wilderness to find it. It hides in plain sight. Next, we move to a location that was never meant to last at all, where failure and nature took over on a massive scale. Number 4, Hibernia Mines. At first, you barely notice it. No sign, no warning, just a hill in the woods. Then you feel it. Cold air drifts out of a heavy metal gate embedded in the earth. Even on the hottest summer day, it spills across the forest floor. It's unnatural. It's almost alive. Hibernia Mines weren't meant to be scenic. They were carved for iron. Magnetite pulled from the hills fueled New Jersey's early industry. For decades, miners tunneled deep, moving rock and ore, building a network of shafts, pits, and corridors. The sound of hammers and carts echoed through stone walls. Every swing, every strike, every clang shaped the economy. Then the industry collapsed. Machines stopped. Carts went silent. Workers left, taking their lives and routines with them. But the mine itself did not die. Its temperature stayed constant. Cold, dark, untouched. The perfect winter home for wildlife. Tens of thousands of bats discovered the tunnels. They hung clustered in total darkness, surviving months on nothing but the mine's stable environment. The mine became one of the largest bat hibernation sites in New Jersey. Then came white nose syndrome, a fungal disease that decimated populations almost overnight. What was once teeming became fragile, a precious ecosystem, threatened and protected. Today the gate is locked, not because it's unsafe for humans, but because it's a sanctuary for creatures that cannot survive disturbance. Hibernia Mines tells a strange story of abandonment. Human activity ended. Nature took over. Life continued in unexpected ways. Outside the forest is calm. Inside the mine breathes. Cold air exhales like the hill itself is alive, guarding what's left. And this leads to a different kind of abandonment. Not underground, not industrial, but sprawling, theatrical, built entirely for entertainment, and left to rot when the crowds disappeared. Number 3, Warner Brothers Jungle Habitat, West Milford. Deep in the forests of West Milford, something strange hides in plain sight. Curving roads cut through thick trees. Lakes shimmer quietly, where once families crowded along the shorelines, ice cream in hand. Rusting cages peek from the undergrowth. Signs, faded but still visible, whisper the story of an abandoned safari. This wasn't just a park. It was Warner Brothers' drive-through safari. Lions paced in enclosures. Elephants wandered through carefully designed habitats. Everywhere the park screamed Hollywood, branding, logos, movie-themed attractions. It promised spectacle, adventure, a taste of the exotic. Right in New Jersey. But it didn't last. Financial problems. Operational chaos. The crowds never came in the numbers Warner expected. Within a few years, it closed. The animals were relocated. Movie magic vanished. And yet the skeleton remained. Roads still wind through the trees. Parking lots cracked under weeds. Buildings sit frozen mid-use. Gates still swing, fountains no longer flow. Nature began reclaiming what humans abandoned. Vines crawl along fences. Trees push through asphalt. The forest moves in slowly, deliberately, swallowing everything the park once was. Hikers and explorers stumble across it by accident. The effect is disorienting. One moment, you're in a dense forest. The next, a lion enclosure looms out of nowhere. A rusted sign reads, "Jungle Safari, enter here." It's a ghost of entertainment. perfectly preserved by neglect. This is what makes New Jersey unique. It isn't just crowded. It's layered. Places that didn't burn down. Places that didn't collapse. They were simply left, silent, frozen, forgotten. You could drive past one of these spots 100 times without noticing. That's the point. And now the question. Which abandoned place surprised you the most? And what's more unsettling? A town that collapses, or one that just goes silent, leaving nothing but echoes behind? Number 2, Slyke Castle, Ramapo Mountain. You hike through thick forest. The trail curves, dips, then rises again. For miles it's just trees and rocks. Then suddenly, stone walls appear. Slyke Castle. But it was never truly a castle. It was a mansion. A monument of wealth, isolation, and status. Built high above the surrounding valley by a family who wanted to see and be seen and from a distance. Every window framed a view. Every balcony overlooked their domain. For a time they had everything: privacy, grandeur, dominance. Until a fire gutted the interior. The mansion was never restored. And what remains today feels surreal, almost staged. Archways with no doors, windows opening only to trees and sky, stone walls cracked, ivy crawling like slow-moving veins. Every surface shows time's deliberate patience. Nature didn't rush in. It claimed its space quietly, methodically. Floorboards rotted. Roofs collapsed. The forest inched closer, floor by floor. Hikers still stumble upon it by accident. And that's when the full effect hits. This wasn't abandoned because it failed. It wasn't neglected for lack of use. It was abandoned because wealth moved on. Because priorities changed. Because time leaves everyone behind eventually. And now the stage is set for the final one. The most controversial. The most debated. The one that people whisper about, wondering if it's truly gone, or if it's simply waiting for the lights to turn back on. Number 1. Legends Resort, the old Great Gorge Playboy Club Hotel. Perched in the mountains, this resort was untouchable. Luxury suites, private pools, panoramic views designed to impress, to overwhelm. Celebrities, moguls, socialites passed through these halls, leaving behind champagne and whispers. At its peak, legend sold more than wilderness. It sold excess, escape, fantasy. Then it cracked. Ownership changed. Renovation stalled. The doors closed. What followed wasn't a clean shutdown. It was decay in stages. Water seeped through ceilings, soaking carpets and walls. Glass shattered and stayed broken. Entire floors frozen mid-renovation, as if workers expected to return the next morning. They never came. Years later, new owners tried to breathe life back into it. Rebranding, new names, bold promises, but the locals still call it what it was. Because you can repaint walls, you can replace signs, but you can't erase a collapse that everyone watched happen. Walking through it today, you feel the ambition that outpaced reality. The elevator stopped, but the echoes remain. Rooms meant for luxury sit empty, untouched, pools cracked, chandeliers dim. Hallways stretch silently, waiting. This isn't a ruin hidden in the woods, it's a monument. A frozen promise of what could have been. And it's not alone. Across New Jersey, the pattern repeats. Not destruction, not disaster. Just places the world moved on from and forgot to turn the lights back on. So here's the question. Which unsettles you more? The places swallowed by nature, or the ones still standing, waiting for someone to believe in them again?